Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. You get one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's let Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a minute.
If it did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is
molecularly.
Those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not.
Get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not obfuscating the truth.
Senator
You are the
Paul's
one.
time is expired, but I will allow the witness to.
That's funny. It doesn't go. That ends with Fauci saying, "If oh, you're a liar." That's that he couldn't. Fauci knows exactly what Rand Paul was saying in that statement, is that they were doing gain of function. They were paying the United States, the NIH, Dr. Fauci, directly, paying for gain of function in the Wuhan lab, in a lab that's very, very subpar as far as safety conditions and all that. He funded that, knowing that it's illegal to do that. And actually, it was made illegal during the Obama administration, I'm quite sure, because of some of the sloppiness that was happening. You don't want to be responsible for those things. So the NIH was just using their funds, not going through the government, not getting okays from government, and literally just saying, "Hey, can you guys check this out for us? Here's a couple of bucks." It's not legal. It's not supposed to be done. But the NIH and Dr. Fauci, being who they are, or I should say the NIH under Dr. Fauci being who they are, would just work around that. And it is not being said that it did cause SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19 as we know it, or the Rona, if you will. That you can't say that, but you also can't say that it didn't, because gain of function was happening. They were playing with viruses that came from animals to see if it could jump to humans, and that was someone had to pay for that, and come to find out, it is the United States. The United States, the NIH in the United States, run by Dr. Anthony Fauci. A to Jet Noise, thanks for joining me. Facebook, YouTube, rumble.com. Please like, subscribe, join, comment, rate from 1 to 5. Let me know if I suck, or let me know if you love me. Because, again, I always say we have to start the conversation. I don't have to be right. We just have to start the conversation. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so with Anthony Fauci under the gun, facing criminal investigation, he's facing it. I'm not saying he's under. I'm saying he's facing criminal investigation. He is, of course, reeling at this point. And right now, the best way to get anything out of Anthony Fauci is to put Rand Paul in front of him, because he can't double talk, and the real Anthony Fauci comes out. So he can't get on, like he does on your favorite liberal media source and tell you about, double masking. That when he first said, mask is not really going to do anything. It's just not going to do anything. If it makes you feel better, fine, put one on. And then later on, a year later, double mask, that's a great idea. Triple mask, why don't ya? He's reeling. So you put Rand Paul in front of him. Rand Paul, who was actually seeing patients up until not too long ago, maybe under 10 years ago, who was seeing patients. He is an eye doctor. He was experiencing touching, talking. He was hands in the dirt, if you will, with patients. Rand Paul, who has practiced that, and Dr. Fauci, who has never practiced that, is actually the perfect part. Rand Paul, actually the perfect person to put in front of Dr. Fauci right now, because Rand Paul, visually, as soon as Anthony Fauci can visualize Rand Paul, he loses his mind. He loses his mind, and he can't double talk. So he spends his time saying things like, "You're a liar," or "You don't know what you're talking about." The third grade jujitsu, playground jujitsu. So, if you get a chance to see that whole clip, please, I encourage you to do that. And in the meantime, the shot, the therapeutic, the inoculation, what everyone is still calling the vaccine, seems to be what is motivating Dr. Fauci to stay in front of you on your television set, telling you to get this quote unquote vaccine. We always have to follow the money, and they're showing that their alternatives. I say this under the risk of being challenged or video being either demonetized or taken down or what have you. But ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, both of them okayed to treat symptoms of. They're not cures. They just make it easier and they expedite the recovery. They make it easier for you to get through COVID-19, and they expedite the recovery. This is if you have it. If you have it, then you take these, and they are therapeutics. Apparently, this shot is nothing more than that. My argument with that is you're taking the shot, and the Pfizer CEO said, hey, look, the shot's wearing off in like 6 months. That's the Pfizer CEO. He's saying the shot's wearing off in like 6 months. So if you get the shot and you don't have COVID and you're like, I got the shot, and 6 months later you end up getting COVID, some people are saying, that, if nothing else, it minimizes the symptoms, it expedites your recovery. But the problem is that you took the shot under the pretense that you should not get it. And if it's wearing off, then the shot doesn't, if it's wearing off in 6 months and you get COVID in 8 months, it's not doing anything. But meanwhile, the other two therapeutics, the hydroxychloroquine and the ivermectin, along with the cocktails like azithromycin with either one of them or something along that line, zinc, if you will. If you're taking those, if and when you have COVID and you're experiencing fairly serious symptoms, you're hitting it when you have it, right? You're actually hitting it when you need it. But if you get the shot and it wears off, it's not there when you need it. All right? Again, you have to keep doing these caveats, these footnotes, these little fine prints. No one's telling you not to get the shot. The problem is the pushing of this shot. Why is this happening? It goes back to, again, follow the money kind of thing. Here's a little example of what I was talking about as far as wearing the virus, or excuse me, the vaccine, if you will, wearing off. Here's what's going on in Maryland right now.
I was pretty surprised, to say the least.
We met Deborah Hernandez downtown today. She's from Baltimore County, got her second dose of Moderna way back in the beginning of February, and 7 months later, she got COVID.
It's scary, very scary.
On Tuesday, she was at the Convention Center Field Hospital for a 2-hour infusion with monoclonal antibodies. She's worried about long COVID and passing the virus on to her grandkids.
You think you're safe, but you're not.
This is the reality of the outbreak this September, health experts say. While it remains rare for somebody who's fully vaccinated to die from COVID, it is no longer rare for the fully vaccinated to get sick, and sick enough to be hospitalized. The cause, according to Anne Arundel County's health officer, likely a combination of waning vaccine efficacy and the rise of Delta.
Because Delta spreads more easily and causes more severe disease, we do see some hospitalizations.
In Anne Arundel, in the past 3 months, about 30% of the people hospitalized with COVID are fully vaccinated.
30.
Similar time frame and trend in neighboring Howard County, where health officials say
40.
roughly 30 to 40% of people
Watch that doctor
hospitalized
again.
with COVID are fully vaccinated. For those wondering if I can still get
Listen
COVID
to this comment and
get
watch
sick
his
enough
face.
to need an infusion treatment, what's the point of getting the shot? The experts say
It's critical to get your vaccine to decrease your chances of both getting hospitalized, and also it turns out long COVID, those lingering symptoms, are much less likely in the vaccinated as well. So there are a lot of good reasons to get vaccinated.
Anne Arundel County and Baltimore City are two Maryland jurisdictions that currently have a vaccine requirement for the public workforce. Today, the Anne Arundel County executive said his administration is working on a passport.
All right, that's here nor there. his expression, the fact that he choked when he said that he believes that there's a myriad of good reasons, and it's proven. He wasn't lying. He's not feeling so-called vaccine. And what I mean by that is that I don't think he has total faith in it, considering what is happening in his town, in his city, in his jurisdiction, what have you. The fully vaccinated people, you saw that in 2 counties, minimum of 30% of the people that are hospitalized right now are fully vaccinated, up to 40%. Pardon me. Up to 40% are fully vaccinated. Again, this is not saying do not get vaccinated. You do what is best for you. She was vaccinated back. The lady you saw there, Mrs. Hernandez, she was vaccinated back in February, they said. And apparently this thing, it just wasn't going to be able to handle any new variants or anything like that. So the thought of it minimizing the symptoms went out the window for her, and that seemed to me it was it's a little disturbing. Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting at. It's a little disturbing that this thing was promised, the shot was promised, not so much as the end-all, be-all, but it's as if it had the answers to get everything back to pre-COVID-19, the pre-COVID-19 era. When apparently it's very clear that it doesn't. Back last year, late last year, my wife was offered, and I'm sure some of you have probably have a family member or yourself that was offered $1,400 for testing to be a test subject. She was picked randomly to be a test subject for the COVID-19 vaccine, if you will. And she thought about it. She liked the idea of the $1,400, of course. But then the questions started to come. All logical questions. What's in this thing? It happened so fast. If indeed they are injecting you with the sickness, who's to say that you don't get the sickness? Who's to say that knowing that in some cases there are long-term effects after contracting COVID-19, who's to say that wouldn't happen to her? So she became gun-shy. And it didn't matter if she became gun-shy. They were supposed to do some sort of phone interview or, FaceTime interview with her and stuff like that. But it didn't matter whether or not she became shy or nervous or even scared, if you will, about this. They eventually, the companies, hospitals, Big Pharma, took that off the table. Took that money off the table. I don't know how many people got paid for it, but it did get shut down before they felt that the length of time that the testing needed to go on. They shut it down long before that. So what I'm trying to say here is that whatever time period they set up for the testing with test subjects, they shut it down. They shut the testing down long before that. So I don't know who got paid for it, if anybody did any testing, but obviously they shut it down because we all have become the test subjects. Now, if they would have done the testing, chances are you would have to consult with a physician, which is if they were serious about this vaccine, if they were actually very serious about this shot, everyone would have to consult with some sort of physician. Everyone. You'd say, well, you know how much time that would take? That would take so long. Seem to be okay with everything else. Are there any other restrictions? Shutdowns, mask, passports. You seem to be okay with any other restrictions. Meanwhile, just stick that in my arm. I don't know what's in it. It took you 8 months to figure out how this virus works. But it took you, 10 months? Not even 10 months to come up with the vaccine? To come up with the vaccine. All right. Again, there seems to be some sort of benefits to this thing. So we can't really knock it. But we can knock the way that people are approaching the who should get it, when they should get it, how they should get it, and that they better get it. Back in the early 80s, AIDS. It was a drug that was supposed to be the cure-all for AIDS, AZT. And they didn't bother to look at any other drugs except for this AZT. How many lives were lost when they found out that there were therapeutics afterwards? But years afterwards, they found out that there were therapeutics. So how many lives were lost, considering that they completely focused on one drug that wasn't getting the job done, the AZT? Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. That was back in the early 80s. And, I would say you'd be surprised. But I don't think you'd be surprised as to who was behind that mindset.
Given the long incubation period of this disease, we may be starting to see, as we're seeing virtually as the months go by, other groups that can be involved. And seeing it in children is really quite disturbing.
When you say other close contact, give me some examples.
Well, for example, if the close contact of a child is a household contact, perhaps there will be a certain number of cases of individual who are just living with and in close contact with someone with AIDS or at risk of AIDS, who does not necessarily have to have intimate sexual contact or share a needle, but just the ordinary close contact that one sees in normal interpersonal relationships. Now, that may be far-fetched in the sense that there have been no cases recognized as yet in which individuals have had merely casual contact, close albeit, with an individual with AIDS who, for example, have gotten AIDS. For example, there have been no cases yet reported of hospital personnel who have fairly close contact with patients with AIDS. There have been no case reports of them getting AIDS. But the jury is still out on that because the situation is constantly evolving and the incubation period is so long. As you know, it's a mean of about 14 months, ranging from 6 to 18 months. So what medical researchers and public health service officials are concerned with is what we felt were the confines of transmissibility now going to be loosening up and broadening up so that something less than truly intimate contact can give transmission of this disease.
That is a far younger Anthony Fauci, far younger than we know him now, explaining that he felt that AIDS could be transmitted by just being in the same room with someone. Do you understand that? Right now, the most common of people knows that is not a true thing. But Anthony Fauci at that time took his time to go on television and say that it could possibly be transferred. We might possibly see that if you're in the same room with someone with AIDS, you could get AIDS. That's Anthony Fauci, head of the NIH. Pretty much a position that he has now at that time, back then. The reason he brought that up is because there was an infant in the mid-'80s that contracted HIV. So his mind told him to go on television and tell everyone that you could possibly get HIV from being in the same room with someone with HIV. Now, quickly, that went away because it was found out that it wasn't true. It obviously wasn't true because it's not true. But you saw it right there in that video that Anthony Fauci ran to your television sets, ran in front of the cameras, and said, "Well, it's quite possible that he could get transferred to another room. If you're sitting in the same room with someone else, that it might expand, if you will." Is that the word he used? That the transmission might expand, find new ways. It might show up in your Pop-Tarts. You might be able to transfer it through, I don't know, sword fighting. What do you... That is the same Anthony Fauci that we have today. He was able to just completely throw off any common sense. Not necessarily take into account any sort of research. Or slow down for a moment and say, let me double check my work here. He ran to the cameras and told you whatever he felt made him look smart in front of millions. And then he turns out to be a total fraud. His comments turned out to be untruths. Does it sound familiar? Because to me, it sounds like today's Anthony Fauci. And today's Anthony Fauci doesn't give a damn about anyone else except he and his ego. Get your shot. You want your shot. Get your shot. Do not let me, as some schmuck behind a big puffy microphone, convince you into not getting the shot. But let me convince you to check with your physicians thoroughly. That's the word I want. Thoroughly check with your physicians to see if the shot is right for you. Right now, young women are experiencing changes with their menstrual cycles. So again, back in the news, is this going to do harm to their fertility in the future? Young men, myocarditis, heart inflammation after they get the shot. The blood clots in the young ladies after they got the shot. The fertility, will they not have fertility issues? The Pfizer pamphlet literally says, if you are pregnant and if you are experiencing issues, please call this number. Once again, we're the guinea pigs, we're the lab rats. Don't not get your shot if you feel you need the shot or if you feel that's the answer. Get your shot. But please, for the people that are questioning this thing, give them time. Give them a little bit of time. I mean, look at the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs, 90% of their staff and players are literally vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and meanwhile, the Georgia Bulldogs are experiencing the highest number of cases, COVID-19 cases that that could mean 3, could mean 5, could mean 7. I think it's around that or more, 7 or more. These are all young. Most of them are young guys, and it's enough for the coach to come out. And say, "Look, I get it, the whole vaccination thing, but now, my team. I fear for my team. I fear for my unvaccinated guys because my vaccinated guys are sick." So the questions are still there. And please, for goodness sake, let's all try to stop calling this a vaccine. Because a vaccine cures an issue. This does not cure an issue. It just doesn't. Ada Jet Noise, ADA Jet Noise, on Rumble, rumble.com, facebook.com, youtube.com. Please, again, thanks. Please subscribe. Hit me up, comment, like back, pat me on the head. I'll try to take compliments as best as I possibly can. I don't do well with those. Please hit me up. Let's have this conversation. I don't have to be right. I just have to start the conversation. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. Till then, big hug. Be good. Be still. Enjoy your life.